You're listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, the place to learn about new technology and technological advances before they become mainstream. This podcast is sponsored by Dell Technologies, a unique family of businesses that provides the essential infrastructure for organizations to build their digital future, transform IT, and protect their most important asset, information. Let's get into the show.
Welcome to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. I'm your host, Keri Roberts, and my guest today is Cameron Chehreh, the Chief Technology Officer for Dell Federal Systems and Vice President of Presales Engineering at Dell. Welcome, Cameron. Thanks for being here today.
Keri, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to get the chance to spend this time with you. Look forward to it.
So, Cameron, I was looking at some of your stuff online, and interestingly, you started off as a professional musician and you worked in audio engineering as well. And you've said it was there that you learned the importance of getting everyone aligned and working towards the same goal. How do you use that philosophy as the CTO now?
Yeah, it's a brilliant starting question, Keri. You know, in music, most people who aren't musically inclined don't gain a sense that you have to know what key you're playing in, what's the tempo for the song, 3/4, 4/4, by doing a staccato beat, some sort of rhythm. So as you have this team of musicians that gets together to play music that we all enjoy, everyone's got to be on the same page, right? That's where the saying comes from, same sheet of music. I find in business, it's the same thing. You know, when you're running large, diverse teams, especially in this environment now where we're mostly virtual, you know, in this post-pandemic workforce 2.0 environment, I think it's critical that you can never over-communicate enough to make sure that your teams remain aligned and on the same page, especially when you're in one of the largest technology companies on the planet, you're in sales, and you're really trying to drive a fantastic mission outcome for your customers. So I think over-communicating and getting everyone aligned is critically important in driving those types of customer mission outcomes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'd love to kind of get into a little bit more of what you do now today and talk about some data center trends. And one of them, of course, as you just mentioned, is being the shift of having government employees work from home. Why should digital transformation be a core strategy, and how do you create one?
So it's interesting. Digital transformation means a lot of things to a lot of people. I try and keep it as simplified as I can for leaders because there's enough complexity in life when you're dealing with workforce, remote workforce, execution of a mission. Really, digital transformation is about digitizing the current mission requirements or mission concept of operation that you have. What this really means when you double click into it is making sure that all employees during mission execution have access to the right data, the right applications, on the right devices to meet their work environment in the operational setting, all at the right time. And that's all underpinned by a very strong and healthy cybersecurity strategy. And some people, right, if you're a glass half full or half empty person, they say, oh, it can't be done, it's too complicated. But recently with the pandemic, fortunately or unfortunately, we've learned that not only is it doable, it's becoming the new way in which we work. We're becoming very digitally connected. We're being very digitally engaged, not just through social media, but other forms now that include more video content. So digital transformation really is about right data, right applications, right device for the right work environment and operational setting of the mission.
And we're talking about security on this show constantly. When it comes to ransomware attacks and you factor in the cost of an attack, which might include things like lost revenue, incident response, legal advice, lost productivity, forensics, recovery and reimaging, data validation, brand damage, litigation. I don't even know if people realize how much is involved here. An organization could be looking at millions of dollars lost. And I don't think there's any denying the importance of cybersecurity, but how does a startup or how does an organization stop constantly worrying about security, yet still stay on top of things when the risks are so much higher with people working remotely?
You know, Keri, that couldn't be one of the more brilliant and powerful questions, I think, of the modern age for us. The world is moving digital, right? We know that is not slowing down. So what it comes down to is we have to allow ourselves, it's really about changing our mindset, our thinking when we think of our digital infrastructures. I can't tell you the countless opportunities we see in government where they focus on data management, but they miss the data protection piece. And data protection couldn't be more simple today. In some regards, and I'm a huge fan and advocate of cloud, but cloud seems to have mitigated the data protection piece of the conversation. When you look at some of the great solutions, not just from us, but our competitors that you can get through great partners like Ingram Micro, you can look at isolated cyber recovery. So I'll give you a great example in government near my hometown, right? The city of Baltimore experienced almost a 4-day outage for the entire city because of a ransomware attack. Had they had an isolated cyber recovery strategy, which is really very straightforward, very simple to operate, they could have been back online with an acceptable data loss within a half hour to an hour. So we're talking about recovery of operations, recovery of all those things you just talked about. And Keri, you hit on the whole shopping list, and there's hundreds more of other challenges you face when you deal with a cyber breach. But isolated cyber recovery could not be more straightforward today, and I highly encourage any customer, any organization to continue to look into those areas. And don't forget that when you're putting a data management strategy together, the data protection, data recovery has to be part of it. It's a must these days.
You were saying that with kind of more people using the cloud, that maybe they don't think about data security. Why does that tend to be?
So it's fascinating. And, the public cloud service providers are great partners for us, Keri. They do a really good job of putting the marketing message out. But in cloud, we've made it easy for people to give the appearance of storing their information pretty simply. But if you noticed, I said simply, not safely or securely, right? When you use cloud offerings in traditional senses, it's a use at your own risk. You use it, but you're liable and responsible for setting up those policies and procedures. When you look at a hybrid cloud model, which is the way we look at the world, where cloud is really an operating model, it allows you to leverage all the same policies, the same security infrastructure that you use for your enterprise today, but extend those into your cloud environment. So you're not rethinking your cloud security all the time, depending on what provider you're using, but you also now apply a very conscious thought with regards to data security and how that works. It's how we try and prevent things like cloud sprawl, data leaks, data spills, which have been quite common in cloud. Although they have decreased, they're on a proper trend decreasing, the risk still exists.
Can you also share with us maybe some types of conversations that you've had in the industry, especially during now, when it comes to people being afraid in some ways to modernize and adjust to this new normal?
It's fascinating, Keri. For the longest time as a younger man, I was always very passionate about, you got to change. You always got to roll with the times. As I've aged, I've recognized a little bit more of the sageness and wisdom of people that you want change to be predictable. You want change to be methodical so that everyone can get on board. I think what I would offer you today is when we looked at what the pandemic environment provided us was an opportunity for all of us to come right back to your opening question and rally behind a common strategy. We all recognize that this pandemic, although we're tired of it, it's not done with us yet, but we all have to be on the same page. We all have to be completely aligned in this new remote workforce that is normal as a result of this pandemic for us. So I think what's happening is we're seeing that change is digestible, although we still have the same apprehensions. I've seen people turn those apprehensions into focus, and they're focusing in the right areas. They're focusing on data management, application strategy, most critically important, cybersecurity, how people are now looking at cyber transformation with regards to modernization from an IT perspective. And look, there's a great testament. I think it was either Gartner or McAfee just recently published a report that the cyber attacks, because people are working from home, have exponentially increased. I think it was 4 to 6x the attacks have increased. But we're not hearing too much about the breaches on the other side. That's because we have a distinct focus on hardening the attack surface, reducing it, massively simplifying it where we can. And we have this focus on conveying the importance of following cybersecurity policy within the user community. So I think doing those things is giving us a conscious ability to accept change maybe a touch faster because of this pandemic.
Yeah, I like that you're saying to kind of put it into focus and get everybody rallied around. When we're talking about the application ecosystem, how is it driving data centers with people being able to work anywhere on any device?
You know, it's fascinating, Keri. For the longest time, we have applications, especially in the public sector business, that have been riding on mainframes for 30, 35 years. And I just can't possibly imagine, as a cyber guy and a cyber operator for over 25 years of my career, you know what those applications look like. Most of our adversaries have mapped out the networks because they're extraordinarily static. When I look at what's happening in data centers today and the application ecosystem, this is where I'm extremely excited about the consumerization effect and the effect that we have as consumers on our professional lives. And what I mean by that is years ago when the brilliant Steve Jobs thought up the iPhone, no one ever thought how much it would transform our digital life. No one ever thought that we would use it almost as a primary device to consume just about everything. That's driving our behavior now in the professional world, where we have diversity of devices that we carry based on the mission operational environment. And what I mean by that is, think of someone like U.S. Department of Agriculture, and you have a USDA employee that's going out to, say, work with a farmer to do a land soil assessment to see if they can yield better crops for the year. In that operational environment, they may only carry a cell phone with them because it's the only thing that gets coverage maybe in that area. Well, in today's world, that person might have a laptop and they've got to, do all their assessments, and maybe once a week or twice a week go back to the office and spend hours putting those assessments into the system. Now, that same environment, that same scenario, that person can have a lightweight application that sits in front of the legacy ecosystem, and they can enter the data on a smartphone appropriate app while they're in the field, right? So it's these types of things that are changing the application ecosystem, the way people get access to data safely and securely, but still empower them to do their job on the device that makes the most sense for them.
With everything we're talking about, how is Dell helping their partners with all of this?
It's a great question. There's a rich answer to it. It's basically in every facet. I'll start with the portfolio. That's the thing that I get very, very excited about as a technologist. When you realize Michael's vision and you start to see what digital transformation really looks like from this side of the fence, it's exciting every day to wake up and to see the new technologies that not only we're inventing, but we're investing in, and the current technologies in the portfolio that we're using to help underpin digital transformation. So I think first and foremost, we're extraordinarily proud of our portfolio and the technologies that our partners help us implement on behalf of our customers. The second thing is, with our partners, we have very, very strong relationships with our partners, specifically in the public sector and in the federal space, to help enable them not only sell our technologies, but create a true partnership with the customer right at the center of the focus. Keri, a lot of people talk about customer focus, but it's very passé. When you look at our culture and our DNA, it is about bringing our partners with our technology and our portfolio together, and we rally behind one central thing, one central focal point that drives all of us, and that is customer success. Because when you think of the customers we support in public sector all having missions, whether it's the intelligence community, Department of Defense, civil, or even higher education, you think of the states, they all have a mission that is critical to us as people and as constituents. So building that partner ecosystem with the right portfolio and the right go-to-market, being able to do business in a very simple manner with us, I think are some of the active ingredients we have to try and build a partner ecosystem that's successful with our customers.
Now, when you think of technology as a whole, where do you personally see it going within the next year, Cameron?
Oh, this is a great question. I'd love to tell you that in the world of artificial intelligence, we'll see the foundation of Skynet, because I know we all get scared of that Terminator. I actually am very optimistic and pragmatic about where technology is going. I'm very excited about some of the investments in cancer research and in the biomedical field and the intersection of technology that really helps us drive human progress. And I'm seeing some extraordinarily exciting breakthroughs when you think of artificial intelligence and how it's being applied to the prediction of disease and maybe even potentially the cure one day. Having lost a lot of loved ones close to me to cancer, the fact that I can see on the horizon the potential cure for a cancer because of digital technologies and the ability to get more forensic with the medical professional and build this technological to professional bridge almost is extraordinarily exciting. I see a lot of that happening. I see a lot of massive use of automation, which is going to be very, very exciting for a lot of us when we think of autonomous vehicles coming online or semi-autonomous vehicles. When we start to see the amount of digital interaction in our life to enrich our experiences in life, I get very excited about augmented reality. Virtual reality has its place, but it's the augmented reality because I also like to be thinking of those with differing abilities. And I want to make sure that when we think of people that say are on the autism scale or people with disabilities, having them be able to compete in this type of workforce in a very healthy manner because of the augmentation with technology, I just think it's extraordinary so that every single human being can reach their full potential.
I love that. I think, whenever we can talk about technology for good, that's a wonderful place to be. And you talking about in the healthcare space with helping with cancer patients as well as detection and helping people with disabilities. I love it. And I'm excited to see what that brings as well. If people want to learn more about what we talked about, or they want to connect with you to ask any questions, where is the best place to do that?
So I'm very easily accessible. You can find me at LinkedIn at C. Chehreh on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter at Dell Fed CTO on Twitter. I'm active on a lot of social media platforms or through our partners, public speaking events. I'm pretty accessible, and I'm happy to answer any questions or anything we can do for our partner ecosystem, or more importantly, for our customers, Keri.
Thank you so much, Cameron, for being here and sharing some of your background and your interests, as well as all the great things that Dell is doing. We appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Keri. Thank you. What a great, rich set of questions. Really enjoyed this.
If you like this episode or have a question, join the discussion on Twitter at Ingram TechSol with the hashtag B2B Tech Talk. Thank you for tuning in and subscribing to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro.
You've been listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, hosted by Keri Roberts. This episode was sponsored by Dell Technologies. B2B Tech Talk is a joint production with Sweetfish Media and Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro production handled by Laura Burton. To not miss an episode, subscribe today to your favorite podcast platform.